Hi everyone, I'm Diana Palm from dianapalm.com, and today we're going to do a training video for mediumship development. So whether you're brand new to mediumship, maybe you wonder if you are a medium and can develop these skills, or perhaps you're actually a professional medium already and you'd like to further enhance your abilities as a medium. This is for you. So today's format is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do because I have a lot of questions that people ask me all the time about the spirit world and about mediumship development. And so I wanted to actually pack this video full of helpful information to get you started on your development and furthering your abilities as a medium. This work is really needed. There are actually different time frames in human history where mediums have become very important parts of our history and the landscape of what's going on in the world. And right now, if you feel called to become a medium and to help others connect with their loved ones, and you would like to be a piece of that healing to reconnect them, then I highly encourage you to actually get into some mediumship courses to continue to work in groups. And I'll give you a lot of different ideas in this video that you can use right away. So everybody always wants to know if you have to be born as a medium or if you can develop. And I know there's like a ton of different information about this out there. I strongly believe that every human being has the ability to connect with the spirit world and develop their skills as a medium. That means you can do this. Now, I was actually born a medium, so I had more of those abilities opened up to me, which I can't say was either good nor bad. It just wasn't supported in my family. So when I was seeing things and feeling things and later started hearing things, I didn't really have a support system to know what to do with that. So I had to search high and low to find people to study with and to develop my own abilities. So that being said, even if you are a natural medium, I highly recommend that you get some formal training to really open up your abilities and teach you how to harness them in such a way that you wouldn't know just being born with them. So that being said, I was able to see ghosts, but I also know that I can teach people how to see ghosts because I do that all the time through my scrying classes. I teach people how to see ghosts and spirits with these eyes. So that's one of the skills that I always had. I've had spiritual sight my whole life, so I could see all the different spiritual dimensions and realms. It seems to be that as I've gotten older and done more and more personal healing work on myself, that those abilities continue to grow and expand. So where I may have only been able to see a few different frequencies and vibrations, the more personal work that I did on myself, the more abilities I had to access different frequencies and see more and more spirits. So I always recommend, number one, for anyone that's serious about becoming an excellent medium, number one, work on yourself. And that means your own personal healing work. Anything that you have to heal from the past, traumas, resentments, any victimhood that you carry, anything that you feel like you've been wronged, these are really important energies to clear up within your body so that your vessel can hold more light, connect to higher vibrations, and really get a good connection with the spirit world. So I strongly encourage you to get into some personal healing work and really see how clearing up your own stuff helps you to raise your vibration and connect better and easier with the spirit world. The number two thing that I recommend if you really want to take your mediumship to the next level is to take some additional training on mediumship specific skills. So I've been in this field a long time, and I did go to Arthur Findlay College in England. I learned many wonderful things. Those days were filled with very long lessons from early in the morning to late at night and every day. And I came home with kind of like a toolbox of things that I could gather from there that gave me some more formal experiences, and also I was able to rub shoulders with like 100 other mediums, so that was really great too, and I learned from them. However, a lot of things that I actually value the most are things that I learned from mediums along the way, working with them one-on-one or in development circles, which is called sitting. So when you sit with a group and you sit in a circle for development, This gives you the opportunity to connect with other mediums in a raised energy frequency and to really be able to tap in and practice your own mediumship skills. I think it's very, very important when you sit to do a mediumship reading that you're doing it from your heart, that you're doing it with joy in your heart. A lot of people get so nervous and they're so afraid to be wrong that they literally kind of close down their abilities because they're like, oh, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I can't get my connection? And it's almost like stage fright sets in and they can't perform. And so what I always teach my students when this kind of stuff occurs is to not get nervous, be of service. As long as you know that you're sitting there with an open heart and you truly want to help them heal and gain connection with the spirit world to bring forward proof of the afterlife and a loving, affirmative message that their loved one is okay, then you're going to just be open to receiving the highest information from spirit that you can pass on to them. So remember, don't get nervous, be of service. The more joy you can have and bring into your spiritual work, the more you'll be able to be in the flow and be in that higher vibration where all spiritual gifts actually come from. So being in joy allows you to tap in very peacefully and gracefully and let that energy flow within you. I used to always have my daughter Lonnie come into my classes and do readings for people because I would see my students struggle and like really try hard and with fear and doubt. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll see anything, and all those kind of fears that set in. And I would just know, okay, you know what? I'm going to have Lonnie come out here and sit down to demonstrate with you. And the moment she sat down, her shoulders relaxed, smile on her face, boom, she'd get her connection and it would just continue to flow. The information would come through and it was relevant, evidential types of information from the spirit world. So I would use that as an example all the time. If you can just be relaxed and be in joy, the energy will come to you. It will flow to you. It's just a matter of being receptive. So if you've been trying to do this and you've been trying to be receptive, but you don't feel like you're getting anything, go back to the first thing that I said and look at doing some more healing work on your past. Anything that you can let go of will help to raise your vibration and allow you to connect better and cleaner with spirit. One of the most interesting things that I learned was that you really could actually learn how to connect with spirit on purpose. I was born open, so I would see things, and sometimes I would see ghosts walking around, but because other people around me couldn't see them, I really didn't know if that was valid, if I was crazy, if I was making it up. And it wasn't until much later in life when I was living in one of many haunted houses that I had a paranormal group come through, and they actually validated everything that I had been seeing, hearing, and feeling. It was extremely valuable for me to have validation and proof that my mediumship skills were there and that I was correct. And for the first time, I had people that could say, yes, we have actual proof. We have photographs of what you've been seeing, and we have EVPs of the voices you've been hearing. And yes, these are the ghosts that inhabit your home. These are the ones, your residential ghosts, and these are the visitors. And it was amazing. It was wonderful because when you're growing up with these experiences, you don't really have people to talk to about it, and you have no way to know for sure if it's true. So being around other mediums and being around paranormal groups is really, I think, a part of the process. One of the things I hear a lot from new mediums and people beginning on their mediumship development journey is that they're not sure how to tell the difference between their own thoughts and their ego and their higher self and the spirit world and their spirit guides. And it's true, there is a lot of layers out there. So really learning how to hone in and know your own energy is really, really important. Once you know what your own energy is and what your own mind sounds like and what your higher self sounds like, then you can become more familiar then with your spirit guide. When your spirit guide speaks to you, you'll be like, now I'm starting to recognize that. That's the same thing they said last time, or that's the same kind of information they gave me, which is not my normal thought pattern. So you can start to figure out when your spirit guides are speaking to you and when you're getting the information from the spirit world. One of the easiest ways to tell the difference between your clairvoyant abilities and your mediumship abilities is that your clairvoyance and intuitive abilities will be coming from your third eye. So this information is going to be more psychic. It's going to be connecting to what people are putting out around them, their own thoughts, their feelings, their energy. It's how you're perceiving what they're putting out. Okay, this is really important, and it's an important skill to develop. That's why psychics are not all mediums, but mediums are psychic and mediums. Okay, so psychics are really good at reading and perceiving intuitive information that people are putting out. Mediumship is actually going to be coming from a different place. Mediumship will be coming from the rear of the sixth chakra. It's as if spirit steps in and starts to give information here. You'll perceive the images in the right part of your brain. They've now done scientific research on that when somebody is doing a mediumship and connecting with spirit and channeling messages, that the right side of their brain lights up. And I love that, because as I started to go over all the many ways that I've connected with spirit, I always look to the right, and I'm always perceiving energy here in this part of my brain. This is where I get my clearest pictures. This is where I feel the impression of what spirit is saying. This is where I'm getting the feelings and sensations of what spirit is trying to communicate. So when you're using your third eye, you're using your psychic abilities, your clairvoyance, and that's wonderful, but that's not mediumship. So when you learn to develop this part of your brain, the right side of your brain, and you can actually allow the information to stream into your consciousness from the spirit world, you're doing your mediumship. And they really do work together hand in hand. Mediums ask me this all the time. Beginner mediums and extremely advanced mediums, they want to know how to develop more and how to get more comfortable with different types of spiritual energies. Once you have the ability to relax, calm your mind, and tune into the spiritual frequencies, it's really important that you actually do this, that you practice. And you can do sitting alone, where you're just being receptive, and you can keep a notebook, write down the information that you get. You can do this with a group, which gives you live people to do this with, to get your validations immediately. But one of the things that I really actually strongly encourage is to work with a paranormal group. And I think it's a great way for newer mediums to get some exposure, especially to the haunted variety of ghosts and the different layers that can happen in a haunted environment. It can really bring your skills to the next level, sharpen up your skills and abilities for connecting to spiritual energies in a real active environment. It can be very validating for you as you're getting feedback from the people after you've been through the property. So that's a really good confidence builder. It's a really good schoolhouse to learn from. I actually worked with paranormal groups for many years in Minnesota, in Florida, Wisconsin, and then I consulted with them all over the world in many different countries. And then I started my own, because I didn't want to work with people that didn't know how to cross over ghosts, because they were getting too many attachments and getting too many negative entities. So I actually developed a group where everyone was personally trained and they knew how to clear themselves thoroughly, cross over ghosts, and get rid of demons without batting an eyelash. So that was just my preference, because as you move through the ranks of paranormal energy, you definitely want to make sure that you know how to keep your own space clear. So I really feel that crossing over ghosts and getting rid of entities is extremely important for everyday mediums, for all mediums. I've actually written a book called Setting Spirits Free that helps you to discern spiritual energy, and I share the most powerful technique that I've ever used for crossing over ghosts and getting rid of entities. A lot of people actually educate their paranormal groups with this book. A lot of people refer people to this book because it's actually really valuable content. And I use these techniques time and time again in every haunted environment I ever went into, to clear and cross over the ghosts when other mediums were having difficulty. I was able to keep my spiritual energy clear, and I actually spent a lot of time with all the other paranormal investigators and researchers, clearing them off because they didn't have the skills going into that environment. So when you're getting into paranormal work, mediumship, and anything having to do with the spirit world, knowing how to keep your own vessel clear is extremely important. So that's one of my tips for really becoming a good medium and learning and discerning a lot of different spiritual energies. The other thing that I did to develop my own mediumship abilities was I volunteered in hospice. And what I would do is be someone's companion at the end of their life. I would sit with them and hold them. Sometimes I'd brush their hair. Sometimes I'd read them the Bible and just listen to their stories. And this allowed me to spend really quality time with people at the end of their life. It helped me to really become familiar with what people go through before they transition. And many of them actually would explain seeing their loved ones before they passed, because they knew that their loved ones in heaven were coming for them. And many times with my spiritual sight, I could see that their loved ones were all gathered for them, just waiting for the moment to grab them and bring them home. So that was a really valuable experience, to actually just spend time in the energy of the end of life. And I found that that was a valuable way to bring peace and comfort and reassurance to those that were open to hearing about it before their end of life. Doing hospice is another wonderful way that you can be in that energy and use your skills to really help somebody else. So even if spirits come to you naturally, it's really important for you to be able to do it on purpose, because that teaches you how to tap into that frequency on purpose, so that when you sit to help somebody heal or connect with their loved one, you'll be able to do that. It's kind of like driving down a highway, and once you know the road, it gets easier and easier. So the more work you can do on yourself and with yourself, the more you'll be able to serve others who really need your help. And they really would appreciate and love to hear from a loved one and know that they're okay. The third way that I would say to really develop your own mediumship abilities is to spend some more time in locations that are historic. So one of the things that I would do when I didn't have a client and I didn't have an event is I would actually go places with my daughter that we knew were historic and haunted. And it's kind of a thing that you kind of just get this sense about, and you know which buildings are haunted before you even step into them. So my daughter and I would sit down for lunch in a quiet, secluded part of the restaurant, and we would both get our connection with spirit and then draw on a napkin the different spirits that we saw. And we'd always keep it separate. We wouldn't peek on each other's. And then at the end, we would say, okay, are you ready? Show me what you drew. Show me who you connected with here. And then we would reveal our napkin with these drawings on it. And every single time, oh my gosh, 3 spirits. You've got the lady with the white dress that sits in the windowsill. You've got the banker walking down the stairs with the little spectacles on. And we would always have the same spirits. It's a really good way to engage yourself and put yourself in an environment where you can physically tap in, where you can draw it. Even if you don't have drawing skills, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, just so you get a couple key pieces of their identity. And you can do this alone. So we would do this every single time we had free time. If you want to develop and you want to be good and you want clarity, you must put yourself in those locations, and you must use that, exercise that mediumship muscle, just like any other muscles you have, just like any other skill you have. This is one of the best ways you can do it. You can go to cemeteries, historic buildings, often the library, especially if you have an older library in your town. Other places would be theaters. But every area that you possibly could live would have some historic relevance. And it doesn't have to be historic. I mean, there could be a lot of spirits and ghosts in many locations, but the easiest and most accessible will be your historic properties. Spend some time in those, do some research on your town. My daughter and I actually moved a lot. Our first stop whenever we moved was going to the Historical Society. We would want to know the history of that town, not what was going on now, but what was the foundation of the town? Who founded the town? Were there tribes? Were there different cultures? Was there a lot of trade? What was the environment when the town got its start? And what was going on in that land before that? It's real important to know in your own town if the land that it sits on is tainted by any battles or any kind of traumas. And that's something that also can be healed. So just knowing that kind of tunes you in with what's going on in your neighborhood. And then you have the historic properties. Go to the first properties that were built. Most of them have been turned into little museums or restaurants or quaint little gift shops, and you can tune in any of these places. I do tend to like the library a lot because it's naturally a very, very quiet environment. And so that's another tip for you. Whenever I would go to the library to tune in with spirit, I would just pick a book and sit in a quiet area and then expand my energy field to perceive spiritual energies. And before you knew it, the entire room was filled with spirits. It's still empty, all the chairs are empty, but spiritual energy filled the room. There were so many ghosts at the public library. So that gave me a really good way to connect with them directly and to practice my abilities. There are many crystals that you can use to help elevate your energy and vibration. Labradorite, did I say that right? Labradorite is a very good crystal to use for clearing your spiritual energy and raising your vibrations. Although after so many years of doing this, I actually just have one crystal that I use when I'm using a crystal, and that's my quartz crystal. It's just got a really comfortable groove on it that fits right in the palm of my hand. And I love this crystal. It's specifically used for my mediumship readings. That's all I use it for. Also, when I'm teaching students, I'll usually pass this around. So I just make sure to clear it off frequently. If you ever share your crystals or use them in sessions with spirit, you really should clear your crystals and make sure the energy is always clear, that it's prepared to work with another human in spirit. So do keep your crystals clear by doing special crystal clearings. And there's a lot of videos online for that. Sometimes you set them in the sunlight or the moonlight. There's all kinds of different techniques. I actually go into the theta brainwave and clear mine mentally and spiritually that way. So whatever way works for you, but it's really nice to have a specific crystal that you use. It's just like putting on a hat, lighting a candle, or doing any kind of thing that's a ritual repeat pattern. As soon as you begin to take steps in that direction, your mind knows what's happening and your spirit can prepare. And then it's like a call. Your spirit guides know what to do. So when you start to take those little steps, it's like everything starts to expand and prepare with you and for you. So setting up your own rituals that you do every time you're preparing to work with somebody is really important and really helpful. Which brings me to the next thing, because we haven't talked yet about spirit guides. Now, we all have spirit guides. We have many spirit guides. But when you decide to develop your mediumship, you decide to take it serious, you decide you want to become better at it, you want more evidence, you would like to get more clarity, you would like to really help people in this way, Spirit already knows this, and a special spirit guide to help you specifically with your mediumship has already been called in for you. So when you have the name or the feeling or the connection with your spirit guide that helps you with mediumship, that spirit guide will actually work with you one-on-one to change your body chemistry, keeping your vibrations higher. They'll often tell you when you have negative energies around or residual energies left from a client, and that'll often come in just like a thought or a feeling, but it's actually your spirit guide going, hey, checkmate, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, clear off this. And as long as you're being receptive to that, you're always going to get that information and you just follow it. Your mediumship spirit guide can be so helpful because they will organize everything for you on the other side. They will actually prepare and line up the spirits that are coming to speak with you. And often there's so much intelligence on the other side that often all of these spirits have already made contact with your clients before they've even come to see you. It might be that day, but it might be like a month out. I've had people that have been called to work with me for 6 months before they actually show up in person. And when they finally do, there's a lot of synchronicities that led them to me. And that's basically my spirit guide working with their loved ones in spirit who wish to communicate. And somehow they all get together and work together and they collaborate and bring it about. So when you're a medium, you know that your clients are drawn to you, not just because they want to hear from their loved ones, but oftentimes because their loved ones in spirit want to connect with them and they really want to bring them peace and let them know that they're okay. So as a medium, we serve both sides. We serve the living loved ones and we serve the deceased loved ones as well. And it is always an honor and a special gift. But like I said, it is a gift that everybody can develop. So if this is a calling for you and you feel it in your heart to become a medium, I strongly encourage you to do that. I'm all about proof of the afterlife. And that's why I really enjoy doing the paranormal work and gathering scientific evidence. Many of us have had experiences, but they weren't caught on film or they weren't recorded. And I think having that is really, really important in validating piece of scientific evidence that shows you that this is real, this connection is real, and our loved ones really never leave us. They stay around. And I just think that's wonderful. It's not just a pretty little idea that brings you peace, it's the fact. And being able to tap into them is really reassuring to the heart. Plus, it allows you to know that your time here isn't wasted and that when you pass, you're not turning into nothing. You're going to be around with your loved ones and with all the different spirits. So I think it's really beautiful. I think it's very meaningful. I also think it's very sacred. So even though you can have all kinds of fun and do this with joy in your heart, it's a very sacred work to connect with spirit. And for that reason, I like to always set up my sacred space for doing mediumship readings for others. When I'm alone, I just can connect anywhere. When I'm out in public, I can turn it on, I can turn it off. But when I sit for somebody else for a reading, I want to make sure that I'm in the highest possible vibrational state as I can be in. So some of the things that I do would be to clean my room, make sure I'm wearing fresh clothes and that I have showered. I clear myself spiritually. I release any projections, fears, doubts. I clear any negative energy from the day before, from any conversations I had, from any relationships. I make sure that I'm as clear as I can possibly get, and then I go up to get my connection. Sometimes when I'm preparing my space, I will light a candle or burn some incense. And sometimes I'll dab a little bit of incense on just to raise my vibrations and create more of a peaceful environment. And if you really want to get the help and assistance from your spirit guides and from all the loved ones in spirit that want to bring clients to you, it's really, really important to show that aspect of sacredness and gratitude. It is so important every single time to thank spirit for your clientele, for allowing you to get a crystal clear connection, for allowing you to provide evidence that lets them know that their loved one's really there, to allow you to even be there when these people are healing from their messages from their loved ones in spirit. So it's very, very important to be able to hold the energy of sacredness and gratitude as you're stepping forward to do this work. Thank you for joining me today, and I would love to hear how using some of these tips and techniques for mediumship training actually help to improve your abilities to expand. Also, if you would like to develop more, I do teach the 2-day mediumship class with 8 different lessons of how to actually get your connection with spirit and to prepare your mind for channeling and for getting that connection to the spirit world. So if you're interested in anything like that, please check that out at dianapalm.com. So if you love working with the spirit world and you feel called to be a medium, make sure you check out my other videos for everything that you want to know to really hone in with your skills, tap into the spirit world, and work effectively as a medium and healer. Whenever you're called to do the spiritual work of crossing over ghosts, that's a really special calling as well. And remember, I've got the tips and techniques in this book, and I also go over it in my 2-day mediumship class. If you'd like to learn more information about your own development as a medium, make sure you check back here regularly, as I will be posting many more videos about the spirit world, how to get a crystal clear connection, how to set up your sacred space, and different tips and techniques to help you develop your own mediumship abilities. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.